Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rebecca Barn. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the books that I read in April and then talking about what I'm planning on reading in May. I also do have my notes over here, so if you see me looking off to the side over here, it's because I'm referencing my notes. I read 4 books in April. They were all pretty good books. And we started off strong with Matrix by Lauren Groff. I've had this book for a few years now. I want to say I got it in like 2023 or 2024. So it's taken me quite a while to actually read this book. I felt like I wanted to just read it at the right time, and I decided now was the right time because I actually started reading it like the last couple of days in March, and the first line of the book is, "She rides out of the forest alone, 17 years old, in the cold March drizzle. Marie, who comes from France." And I thought that was perfect since it was cold March weather when I started reading it. It is 257 pages long. It took me a little while to get into it. I was like, oh, like I'm excited to read this book like before bed, but I wasn't really crazy about it until like a little ways in, and then I was like, I need to finish this book, and then I read it in like a day. So this book is about a illegitimate princess who gets shipped off to a nunnery. She's not beautiful or um, strategic to marry off, so they send her to a nunnery. It is such a beautiful book. Like, just describing that doesn't like give it justice. It is so beautiful. Lauren Groff is an amazing writer. This is a kind of book that I think really makes you value your life and how fleeting life is and how every moment is precious and valuable and how those precious and valuable moments add up into an entire life. So it does follow Marie's full life as she works her way through the ranks of the nunnery. There's prophetic dreams, there's lesbian nuns, there's war. There's so many good things in this book. I felt like the pacing was beautiful. You know, as you are kind of working your way closer to the end of the book, you realize that like this is a life story kind of book, and that's very sad. And I had to like put it down and like walk away for a few minutes to like process the grief of finishing this book. It was definitely one of those books where like you finish reading and you're like, so I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Completely recommend. Um, it does explore religion in a very interesting way. So if you're a religious person, it might not be the best book for you. I know I read some of the reviews on Goodreads and people were mad that it wasn't faithful to like the Catholic faith. And I thought that was interesting because it is a kind of story that's in exploration into things that we take for granted. So that was Matrix by Lauren Groff. The next book I read was The Stone Gods by Jeanette Winterson. I picked this book up from my library on my Kobo. I picked this book up through my library because it was available to read as I was waiting for the book I ended up reading after this, which we'll talk about in a second. And so I did not know anything about this book going into it. I was completely blind. And this was another 5-star read for me. I thought it was so beautiful and weird and like a fever dream, but in a good way. It felt like one of those dreams that like you wake up and like your heart hurts because the dream was so beautiful. There was some really intense stuff in the beginning part of the book that was strangely relevant. So it's like split up into 3 shorter stories, but they all connect. So this book follows a character named Billy, and she is a scientist who does something, I don't know. It was kind of irrelevant, but she ends up being involved in a expedition to a new planet. So Earth, or where the people live, is destroyed, or being destroyed. The, corporation, the people in power are looking for a way to get out of their environmental crisis, and that involves, going to this other planet. And on this other planet, there are dinosaurs. So yeah, she's taken there. She ends up falling in love with a robot lady, which is amazing. And then there's some different things that happen. And I think the first section of the story so beautiful, and the best part of the book. Like the rest of it was really good, but that first story was just so incredibly beautiful. It felt so timely and relevant in a way that I didn't expect. So this book was published in 28 or 2008 or 2009, I believe. And so it's really strange how relevant it still is to today and how much it resonated with me and felt like it was written about being alive now. And I think, humanity has been facing a lot of the same issues for a while, which is actually kind of the point of the book. It's a very relevant book and very good. I don't know if I would recommend it to just anybody. If you like sci-fi, if you like robots, if you like crazy stories where you're like, I don't really know what's happening right now, then I would recommend it for you. But it's just so beautiful. I also gave this beautiful book 5 out of 5 stars because it changed the way I see the world. Next up, I read The Blanket Cats by Kiyoshi Shigematsu. I also got this book from my digital library, and I had been waiting to check this book out for 2 years. It was a beautiful I didn't love this book, but I don't think that's because it was a bad book. I just don't think it was the book for me at this point in time. This book follows people who rent out cats for 3 days at a time and explores their lives. I kind of had two main critiques of the story. One of them was the cats don't act like cats, in my opinion. I'm a cat lover. I've had multiple cats throughout my life, so I think I'm pretty familiar with the way cats behave. And I just found the cats to not be very cat-like. So for example, in one of the stories, the cat escaped. Actually, in a couple of stories, the cat escapes. And the humans taking care of it are like, that's okay. That's not a big deal. They'll come back. And in my experience, that's not how you behave when your cat gets outside and you don't know exactly where it is. And I don't mean in some people have outside cats and that's one thing, or inside outside cats and that's whatever. But a cat who you're only keeping for 3 days, and the first day you have it, it escapes. And you're just that's fine. It just didn't feel realistic to me. Um, so that was my first issue with the book. And then the second one was I just felt like the cats themselves were besides the point of the stories. The cats are kind of just there, which is fine. And I don't know. I just expected the cats to be more important to the outcome of the stories. So, for example, one of the characters is a bully, or one of the kids of the family who adopts a cat for 3 days is a bully. And as I was reading the story, I was thinking, oh, this cat, the kid is gonna have to realize that he has to take responsibility for another living being, and it's gonna make him reflect on why bullying people is wrong. But no, he just starts bullying the cat too, which made me so confused. And then any consequences of the bullying were external and kind of just yeah. It was almost good, but then not quite. I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't a bad book, like I said. I just don't think it was for me right now. The last book I read, Lavinia by Ursula K. Le Guin, and has a map. I am not I'm not familiar at all with the story that this book is based on, but it is a retelling of a Roman epic, I believe. This is the answer that I ask myself every time I read one of these old stories, and that is What About the Women? So this story follows the main princess in the old poem. The poem is that, the guys are fighting wars because they want to marry the woman. And this is the woman's perspective, which I think is so like beautiful and necessary. And I think this book or books like it, because I know there's probably more classical retellings focused on the female perspective, these should be taught alongside stories like the Odyssey or the Iliad in schools. I strongly believe that. And the fact that this one is by the legendary Ursula K. Le Guin makes it even better. Her writing is like so true and so expertly done that I forgot that it was written by Ursula K. Le Guin. I was thinking, yeah, it's literally written by Lavinia. No. But like it's so convincing that that's what I thought as I was reading it. And this book is actually very similar to Matrix in terms of it is a story of a woman who was not given power traditionally and she fought for it in her own way. These stories, or both of these books, are about that kind of woman and about those women's lives. So they both kind of follow the women throughout their lives. And I actually bought these books at the same time, and something about them just looks like they go together to me. And so from the moment I bought them, I knew that I would have to read them close to back, and I'm glad that I did because they do go together very well. Anyway, back to Lavinia. The way that this book talks about religion is so beautiful. Talking about how when horrible things happen and there's war and strife, you need the communal sacrifices and experiences that religion can give. And I think that it's a very beautiful and just a really beautiful perspective, especially considering I'm pretty sure Ursula K. Le Guin was an atheist, and I think that she got to the heart of like why humans need religion far more than any like theologian could. I think this is a very beautiful, necessary story that I would recommend everyone and anyone should read. Another 5 out of 5 stars. So overall, I think like 4 books, 3 of them being 5-star read that are going to be in like my best years of the book collection probably. I think that's like a perfectly fine success rate. And I am so happy that I had the opportunity to read all 4 of these books. They were all, they all had their place, and I think I'm glad I read them. So now looking forward to May, I have a big to be read list. First of all, I'm planning on rereading the Warrior Cats series. I will be making a video about that, so stay tuned if you're interested. And coming along on that journey with me. I am hoping to be able to read the first 6 books, like the first series, because they are children's books, mid-grade books. I should be able to get through them pretty quickly. They're also like, at least from what I remember when I read them when I was 10, they're very good and gripping, and like you want to read them all the second you lay your hands on them. I'm planning on reading all of those. And then next up, we have Love Always by Ann Beattie, another writer that I love. Collect her books because she, at least in my experience going to bookstores, she does not appear as frequently as some other writers. Like, you go to a Barnes and Noble, they have Mary Oliver. You go to an independent bookstore, they have Mary Oliver. Mary Oliver is like pretty easy to find. I collect Mary Oliver books as well, don't get me wrong, but I think Ann Beattie is more difficult to find, so I always buy her books when I see them. Anyway, I have this one. I'm going to read it. The cover is really something else, and I have not read any of her novels yet, so I'm very excited. I have read lots of Ann Beattie short stories, but not one of her novels, so I'm very excited to read this one. And then, if I get to it, I would like to read All Fours by Miranda July, because that's in the like skip the line thing in the library this month, and so I would like to take advantage of that if I can, but I'm prioritizing the other books ahead of that. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you got some recommendations from my books from April, and then if you have read any of the books that I listed in this video, please let me know what you thought of them down below. I'm so excited to just keep reading and so grateful that I get to have reading be like such a big part of my life, and that I have the disposition to enjoy reading and enjoy reading good books and bad books. I like bad books too. But yeah, I just feel very reflective on what an honor it is to be able to read and enjoy stories that people put their heart and soul into. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.